Now let's turn our attention to another big event happening this weekend. There are a ton of huge cards, but perhaps the biggest of them all is the One Championship Century event, their 100th show this Saturday. It is so big that they actually have like two cards. There's like 22, I think, fights now officially on both cards combined. And how great is this? We're being joined right now by One's vice president, the great Miesha Tate, former UFC women's bantamweight champion, who, of course, works for One, has been doing so over the past year or so, kind enough to join us from Japan. Here's the big question, Miesha, off the top, because I know it's kind of late there or early morning. Did you stay up or did you wake up early to do this?
Oh, I stayed up, but I had a nap today.
Okay.
So I planned ahead.
Good. Well, thank you so much. It's been a while since we last talked. I appreciate you doing this, especially so late over there. You're now living in Singapore, correct?
That's correct.
What's it like? How do you like living there as opposed to back home in the U.S., Las Vegas, Washington, etc.?
Well, like, it's definitely a change, right? I mean, I think anytime you move halfway across the world, you're going to be looking for a big change. But, you know, it's been nice. I've been there about 6 months now, so it's starting to feel like home, and I feel a bit settled, and I've adjusted well, family's adjusted well, and really no massive complaints. It's pretty nice over there. It's a beautiful place. I don't know if you've ever been, but if you haven't, it's a wonderful place.
I've never been. I heard it's very clean, very nice. I'm wondering why you had to move there. Why was that a part of the gig?
You know, I wanted to move, to be honest.
Oh.
I've always wanted to live outside of the US, and I figured, you know, everybody tells you after you have children that everything changes and nothing's about you anymore. But, you know, I really, part of my goal as a mom is to be a strong role model for my daughter, and for her to realize that just because you become a mom doesn't mean that your life stops, right? So I try to bring her along to as many things as I can, and you know, going to Singapore, right? In a couple more months, she will have been in Singapore longer than in the States.
Wow. Did they reach out to you initially, or did you reach out to them? How did this partnership, because of course you never fought for One, how did this actually happen?
So actually, when I was still competing for the UFC, I went over to do some promotion for the UFC, and I ended up hosting a seminar there. Chatri opened his doors to the gym, and we had a nice dinner and a great conversation. And I just feel like we really connected. He has a similar mindset to me when it comes to martial arts and, you know, values and things like that. So I always just kind of kept that as a deep rooted connection, right? In the back of my mind, there's always kind of like, you know, I could see myself living here. I could see myself being a part of this. And some years down the road, after I retired from the UFC, I felt like I was meant to be doing something bigger. And I reached out to Chatri, and I just said, I think that I'd like to work for One if there's an opening. And he said, we'd absolutely love to have you. And gave me the opportunity to be the vice president of One Championship. And it's been quite a crazy journey, but I'm loving it. I'm traveling all over Asia, all over the world, and it's been a fantastic experience.
So specifically, what does the job entail?
You know, there's so many different things. I still feel like my role is being defined even as we move, but I feel like a brand ambassador is a great
Okay.
starting point for people to understand what I do, right? Because we really want to raise awareness of like how we're different than other martial arts organizations. And I do keynote speeches now, which is something that's really fun for me, and a lot of charity work as well, as One Championship's involved in a lot of charities throughout Asia. So for me, those are all great things that I'm very happy to be involved in.
Was this something that you reached out to the UFC about to see if there was an opening there, or did you always think that it was the best fit for you to work with One?
Well, I tried out for the commentary gig, and I didn't get it. And then, you know, Fox went to ESPN. That was a little bit after I think I started to make the transition, but you kind of knew that. At least I just felt like there was no exact job security, right? It wasn't that I wasn't doing anything with the UFC. It's just that there was never any guarantees. And yeah, I mean, I guess I just felt like the doors were kind of closing on me slowly when it came to my working relationship with the UFC, where the doors were opening in Asia with One Championship.
And so do you view, like, in your position and the way you're trying to open the doors over there, do you view the UFC as competition, or do you feel like one and the UFC are completely different entities? Of course, at the end of the day, it's all mixed martial arts, but I've heard Chatri talk about the ideology and the difference between what you guys are doing and what they're doing in the West. Do you share that sentiment? Do you feel like there's a totally different market out there that you guys are cornering as opposed to what the American fans are looking for out of their MMA promotion?
Well, I think it's a mixture, to be honest. I think that there is some of the fan base that loves the way that MMA is marketed in the West, and then there's some that has been lost in it. That's just a bit over it. The overselling of the rivalries and things like that, and that's not really our mo. We're much more of a value based organization based on honor, courage, integrity, and just the things that I think when you just enjoy martial arts as a sport and you just like watching good fights, that's what we're about, not overselling certain things, right? So, um, but I think there's plenty of room in the sea for many ships. If I think that there's lots of room for the UFC to do their thing and for one championship to do their thing. It doesn't have to just be one top organization. I think there should be many. I think it's better for the athletes. I think it's better for the fighters to have more options. I mean, look, we've had Ben Askren crossover. We have DJ now with one championship. We have Eddie Alvarez. We have Sage Northcutt. I'm working with one championship. And I just think it doesn't have to be a direct competition, right? It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just we are all celebrating martial arts, and I think there's room for both.
At any point, has Chatri Sityodtong, the founder and CEO of One, has he ever come up to you and said, "Are you interested in getting back in there? Are you getting that itch?" Has he ever had that conversation with you?
No, actually, he's like, I think that you called it at exactly the right time, and he's very much about when it's your time, and when it's not, it's not, and there's never any kind of pressure or anything like that. But I can say the same thing for Dana. He's never questioned my decision to retire. He's never asked me to come back. He's never asked me to do anything. It's just kind of like I knew if the desire was there, it was an option, but it's never something that has ever been questioned or asked about in any way, because I think they knew, like, they know, like, I'm a strong woman, like, I know what I want, and if I want to go for it, I'll go for it.
Yeah. Have you ever had that itch? Have you ever considered it at this point since walking away?
Not fighting, but I've considered grappling. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'd like to grapple on some bigger platforms, but I haven't really given too much thought. I've just had so many injuries, and I was doing martial arts for so long that I feel now that I'm a mom and everything like that, I'm content, right? So I feel good where I'm at. I don't feel like I'm missing anything, like fighting was fun and it was great, and I look at it with the most fond nostalgic feelings when I still watch MMA. I still feel, I still get invigorated. I still light up. But I've been there, done that, right? I feel like there's more to life than just being a fighter for me. And I'm really content to just kind of conquer the world in an entirely different sense.
This card this weekend, which, by the way, is airing live on TNT at 11 p.m. Eastern time, the first part of the card. So immediately after the UFC event on ESPN Plus, you can turn over to TNT, which is a big deal because typically it's either online or tape delay. And then this time it's actually airing on television for free and live at 11 p.m. Eastern. So that's a really big deal. As far as the two cards are concerned, the 100th event, it's pretty much every single like known fighter on the one championship roster competing. The exception, of course, is Eddie Alvarez, who unfortunately got injured. He was supposed to be on the card, but he's now out. Is there a fighter or two right now at one that you're really excited about that you think, they have Angela Lee, they have DJ, of course, Christian Lee, her brother, Oglang Song, who's a sort of a homegrown talent. Who are some of the names that you're excited about that fans maybe in America may not know and should be looking out for?
Well, I have to give a shout out to the ladies, and I mean, really deservedly so. This is not just because I'm biased as a woman, which I am a little bit. I'll admit, like, I love a good female fight, but I'm telling you right now, Angela Lee versus Xiong Jing Nan. Xiong Jing Nan is the first Chinese world champion, and she is just a beast in her own right. I personally love rematches, but I especially love them when there's something a little bit different. And now Angela Lee was undefeated at atomweight, and she moved up to challenge Xiong Jing Nan up a weight class for her belt, and she lost in the latter rounds. But I mean, it was neck and neck. It was a super great fight. And now Xiong Jing Nan is moving down a weight class to challenge Angela Lee in the weight class that she's actually undefeated in. And I think the first one was a barn burner, and I have no doubt that the second one is going to be absolutely fantastic. So very much looking forward to that.
And these fights will happen in the ring, correct?
That's correct.
What do you like better? Did you ever compete in a ring or always in a cage?
I did. So it's hard, I think, for MMA athletes because it definitely changes things, but you kind of just have to be aware of that going into it. I remember particularly when I had a hook and shoot tournament, right? So I fought more than one fight in a night, and I remember my second fight trying to get a takedown, and I grabbed through the ropes. So my arms were around her legs and my hands were locked, but the rope was in there also. So I kind of had to like let go to try to get that. And there's just things that make it more difficult. But for the kickboxing and Muay Thai aspect of it, it's great. And I think also for the traditional aesthetics of martial arts throughout Asia, that's another thing that is considered here. It's kind of just trying to revive that, right? I think Muay Thai has always been underrated, and I think kickboxing has been underrated. We have the finals of the $1 million US Grand Prix going on in part 2 of our event also. So kickboxing and the striking part of martial arts is something that's heavily celebrated in one championship. And what I think is great is that a lot of times that happens with 4-ounce gloves on. So it's like the best part, or what most people I think love about mixed martial arts, is the striking aspect. So basically take the world's best strikers, put MMA gloves on them, and let them go at a striking only battle. And it's highly entertaining.
In addition to all of this, you're still doing your radio show for SiriusXM, correct? Fight Nation?
Yes.
And
yes, that's correct.
One thing that I really respect about you, I must say, I mean, you're doing your thing, you've branched out, you're showing that there's life after fighting. You are not afraid to weigh in on topics that may be viewed as controversial. And you do get some heat for this. Like even the fighters themselves, I've seen John Jones react to things that you said. And, things get clipped up and maybe sometimes taken out of context. You've talked about the BMF title, which, by the way, I agree with a lot of the things that you've said about the BMF belt, so to speak. Do you ever feel like you have to bite your tongue because of your role with one? Or are you just going out there and enjoying being able to say whatever you want without any repercussion?
I really feel like I can be honest. I've always tried to be honest before, but right, I mean, it's one of those things now where I just feel like I have the liberty to be entirely open about my opinions, and I don't really have to like hold back and kind of be the company woman, so to speak. So when it comes to things like that, like the BMF belt, yeah, I think it's weird. I think I've gone on the record and said I think that it's weird, and in a sense, I think that it maybe devalues what a belt really means. And I think that's true. Like I don't know what to say. Like I guess if people hate the fact that I have an opinion, I'm sorry, but that's really my opinion. It's not meant to trash the UFC or anything like that, but it's one of those things that that's the honest truth, right? And I have the liberty to be entirely honest about that, and I'm going to be. And I think people have always respected the fact that I've been pretty transparent and pretty honest throughout my career. But you're right, it does get me heat, and I still get the questions about Ronda, and I don't shy away from them. I just answer it honestly, but it's not something that I try to bring up as a regular topic. It's not like I'm trying to talk about Ronda, but people ask about it. Like I think because of Ben Askren, right, when he lost that bout, that fight, how he handled his loss, and he brought up Ronda. So then of course I get asked about what I think the comparison is, and then people hate on me because they say,
Yeah.
why are you still talking about Ronda? I hate it. But hey, I'm always going to be this consistent person, and that's just the way that it's going to be. So I guess people can hate away.
I won't ask you about Ronda, but I do want to ask you about Gina Carano. I don't know if you know this, but she has a new Disney Plus series, a Star Wars series coming out next month. And she's the one person I've never had on the show. She has eluded me for years and years. I don't know why. I don't know what's the issue there, but she won't come on the show. I don't know. I thought we were cool. But I wanted to know if what she has done post-fighting has been an inspiration to you. And if when you were coming up, I know, you fought on the Strikeforce cards back in the day as well, but was she one of those people early on that you looked at as like, wow, she's opening doors and she's doing things not only in MMA, but post-MMA as well. And that's someone that I want to emulate?
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. She has been someone who has been a big inspiration to me. I think she had a bit of a hard go of it in the MMA realm, and I think she left the sport a little bit bitter because of what happened with Cyborg. And I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think that she wasn't happy with that. Like I said, I'm not going to put words in her mouth. I don't want to say how she felt about that loss, but I think it was something she just really wasn't happy with. But I think since then she's done great things with her career, and yeah, I mean, she's absolutely been an inspiration for me. I remember the first time that I met her, she was so nice to me. She was just super sweet. She wasn't a jealous type person. She was very happy to have more females in the sport, and that's kind of how what I emulate myself after, like, seeing how Gina is so great about it and how she really wanted the sport to continue on. And yeah, she was just wonderful. She was super nice to me.
And by the way, I have to ask, you talked about being a mom now and loving motherhood. I don't know if you know this, but on the UFC card, Mackenzie Dern, who gave birth 4 months ago, is fighting on this card. 4 months after giving birth, which, based on our sort of unofficial research, that's the quickest turnaround from giving birth to actually fighting on any major MMA card. Are you shocked that she's doing this? You've experienced it. Isn't that it's an amazing thing that she's coming back so soon. I didn't expect it, but I don't know what goes into all that.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed, to be honest. I hope that it's not too soon for her sake. I feel like it took longer than that for me to feel like I was back to 100%. I mean, there's just so many changes that happen to your body to become a mom, and I'm really impressed that she is that ambitious to get back in there. But you know what? Props to her. She knows her body. She knows her limitations. I'm certainly not going to be one to put a glass ceiling on the woman. I will, I'll cheer her on as a mom that's going out there and trying to conquer her dreams.
I wish you the best out there, Miesha. So great to catch up with you. And again, I really appreciate you doing this so late at night or early in the morning over there. Again, it's 1 century. It's a 2-part card, over 20 fights. You got Muay Thai, you got Pancrase versus Shudo. You got some of the biggest names on the roster in the sport. DJ in the final, Christian Lee and Angela Lee, the brother-sister combo fighting in big fights. You've got Yushin Okami on the card, Aung Lang Sang. I mean, there's so many big names. And again, live on TNT at 11 p.m. Eastern. So immediately following the Tampa card, you can check this out. A lot of MMA action coming your way this Saturday. Thank you so much, Miesha. All the best to you. Good luck out there in Japan, and we'll talk to you soon. I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. Take care, Ariel. Anytime.
Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN Plus.